So it's time for another gardening week video, and I am doing a lot of seed sowing. I always do a lot of seed sowing at this time of year, and I'm preparing for autumn. I'm really preparing for a lot of planting in September and early October, and that planting will see me all the way through until spring. And just like when I'm preparing for planting in spring, I would also be doing a lot of seed sowing in January and February. Preparing for September, I'm doing a lot of seed sowing, or have done a lot of seed sowing in July and August. Now I think that kind of parallel causes some people to think it's a novel idea. Maybe not that novel, maybe it's ages old, but I've never heard of it before. It just seems to be becoming popular on YouTube to call it a second spring. I don't know why people call it a second spring. I do not think it's helpful. It's just better to call it autumn. It doesn't confuse anybody. And September is such a different month to March. Such a different month. And you know, autumn is such a different season to spring. And that is mainly because in spring light levels are increasing and heat is increasing, and in autumn light levels are rapidly decreasing and heat is decreasing, and that makes all the difference. It means that the way you approach things in autumn sowings and plantings is completely different to what you do in spring. You're planting different things, sowing different things, and yeah, focus on timing has to be much more acute, because 1 week in August it's kind of like 2 weeks in September, it's kind of like 3 weeks in October. And the actual details of how many weeks does depend a little bit on the crop. So there's no hard and fast rule for that. You know, some things grow really quite happily in low light levels. In fact, some things grow better in slightly lower light levels and lower temperatures. So there's no standard rule that you can apply about, you know, 1 week in August, it's 2 weeks in September, it's 3 weeks in November, it's 4 weeks in October, sort of thing. But it's a nice way to think about it. And so, you know, when you're doing your timings, you can think about that, or you can buy grow lights, and then grow lights just make every month like every other month, and it makes my simple brain a lot more relaxed when I can just think about everything just taking basically like 30 days to maturity, or 3 weeks to maturity. And yeah, and it costs a little bit, but honestly grow lights just pay back so quickly for me. And I've got quite a collection now, but I mean, if you sow in small quantities, then just one grow light is probably fine. And you know, if you sow in a lot of quantities like me, then you don't need grow lights. Grew perfectly happily without grow lights, but honestly life is just so much easier, so much more relaxed, so much more flexible, and yeah, just as a result so much more enjoyable by investing a few £100s in grow lights. And we're harvesting hundreds of pounds every month, so I'm just taking the profit effectively that I'm making from 1 month's growing and investing that to reap the rewards, you know, all the way through the year and for many years to come. So that's enough on grow lights. I really like them. It gives me a lot of flexibility, and of course it just means lots of less traipsing around, you know, because I can use the grow lights inside the house where there's less pests and things like that. I don't have to do as much travel into the allotment, and I really don't like doing loads and loads of travel into the allotment. So yeah, so that's really great. So the other thing to just think about at this time of year is keep harvesting. You know, these things like cucumbers in particular, they really respond to continuous harvesting. So at an absolute maximum, I am harvesting every 2 days, and that's kind of convenient because I'm watering every 2 days. And so we do tend to just pop down to the allotment in the evening every 2 days, give a little bit of a weed around, bit of watering, and lots of harvesting, and that just makes it a little bit easier as well when it comes to our main harvest day, which is Saturday night, and then we pack and deliver on Sunday to our friends and family. So yeah, so anyway, I've been sowing lots of seeds. I'll put the seeds up at the side here, or here, figure out which it is, so you can see what I've sown so far this week. as I say, I've got loads and loads, and if you want to see what I've sown so far this month, then you can look down below, and yeah, you'll see the link to the reference information section of my ebook, and that's all the details, the nitty-gritty details of everything that I've sown, everything that I've planted, everything that I've harvested, all the videos that I've made in that particular month, loads and loads of details. So what am I doing today? Because I am at the allotment. Well, I am processing the last of the onions, and that is going to be a big job, so I won't bore you with that. But I've also just planted some peas. So this year I'm doing quite a few little late crop things, just in containers, so they're not taking up any space. I've just freed those containers up, and I'm using old potato compost in the containers. And that, when I've finished with it, that old potato compost will just go back into the compost bins, and then I'll turn loads of extra greens into that compost. So it's a bit depleted in nutrients, having been used for 6 months or so for something. But it's still, I find, perfectly good. And as I say, just keep on adding greens and a few browns to the mix, and it comes out the other end about a year later, and it's just great, beautiful compost again. So yeah, peas, I'm doing just terrain peas, because terrain peas are resistant to mildew, and this late in the year, if you want to do peas, you've really got to have something that's resistant to mildew, because otherwise it'll just be very disappointing. As I say, I'm doing 2 containers of those, and they will probably be dragged into this polytunnel a bit later on as they get a little bit colder, just to make sure that I do get a crop into October. So yeah, that is me for, what day is it today? Tuesday? Yeah, Tuesday. And I've just woken up, actually. I've just had a nap after a big long cycle ride. So anyway, let me get on with that. So it's Saturday, and just processed a few more of the onions. Just got a few more to do. I've sorted out the elephant garlic and separated out the ones I'm going to use for next year. To be honest, we haven't got very many here because I've been building up my stock for planting next year. Really, next year is going to be the first proper year that we've grown a substantial quantity of elephant garlic, and I sorted out all my sort of use first, use next little garlics, and I got some more garlic down here. So we're pretty much full in the store now with the alliums, and the rest of the week I've just been hiking and cycling. Had a really great hike up in the Rivington Reservoir system, and yeah, loads of cycle rides and a nice walk along the coast from Cleveland to Fleetwood. So yeah, it's been a busy week, and today I'm tidying up. So I've just cleared out my little mini greenhouse for September, really. So really during summer I like to do all my seed starting in the house, and then immediately, pretty much after they've germinated, I move them out here onto my seedling bench. But I've got too many seeds for this now, and I've got loads more down here, and I've got loads more in the house ready to go out, so I'm moving them into that mini greenhouse. So there we go. So I've got here all the stuff that we'll be planting out in October, and here we've got all the stuff that we'll be planting out in September. I've kept all the brassicas in the house because of pest issues. So these are the more mature ones. Really, these are just spares, but we've got loads and loads of others up on top of the wardrobe under grow lights. I don't really like using grow lights at this time of year, but I don't like caterpillars eating all my brassicas at this time of year either, so needs must. So I've got a lot of pricking out to do this afternoon, and I've got pak choy, all different types of pak choy, basically different Asian greens really, and then a whole batch of lettuce. So these are the lettuce that we're going to be eating through to about November, I would say, and then we switch over to the ones in the polytunnel. And these are the Asian greens that we'll be eating, well, actually well into winter, maybe even into next year. and then again we'll switch over to the ones in the polytunnel, and then we'll switch on over to another succession that we'll plant early next year. So early next year. So yeah, I'm pretty pleased to get these done. I want 3 trays pricked out of these, and that's all sown now. So there's a tray and a half of lettuce and 2 trays of Asian greens. So here's today's harvest, another lovely one. I'll just quickly walk you through it. I'm going to do a separate harvest video for August, and I'll just go into more details in that about what we've got and what we've got coming and all of those sorts of nitty-gritty details, as well as some recipes and my database of preserves and things. So we'll start off with the salads. We've got triple decker salads here. So yeah, I've got to say it's actually quite an achievement for me to have salads in a reasonable abundance at this time of year. It can be a bit tricky with them going to seed and all that sort of thing. So I'm pretty pleased with the selection there. And the same with the salad onions. We've got a really nice selection of these little bulbin onions here, and these sort of traditional salad onions there. And we've got loads and loads of these little lunchbox peppers scattered all over the table. I'll show you those in a minute. We've got Mizuna and golden purslane underneath there, little salad carrots, loads and loads of cucumbers still. We're close to 1,000, I think, cucumbers now harvested this year. So these are the tomatoes for the salad mixes, and all these other tomatoes are going into preserves, as well as lots of the peppers. You can see there's yellow peppers and red peppers and orange and yellow peppers. Started just to pick a sample of fruits. So there's a few pears here which will ripen obviously off the plant, off the tree, and some nice little early apples. We've actually been taking lots of windfalls and making various preserves with those, but these are some of the first ones we've actually picked off the trees. Garlic, of course, and things from the store, lots of little onions and shallots and the like. And I've actually just finished preserving or preparing all of the garlic, the elephant garlic and the onions for storage. Calabrese here. Debbie's obviously making loads and loads of things like chili jams and passatas at the moment, so she's been busy with that. That's just a little sample of those. Parsnips, pretty good size on the parsnips there, and some nice big carrots. That's why I've got little carrots for the salads. Celery and chard. Loads and loads of lovely beetroot. The storage beetroot is coming on, but it's not quite there. Potatoes, these are the second harvest, I think, of the main crops. So we've been on the early potatoes, we're now on the main crops. We've got enough main crops to last us until May. The beans, some more salad carrots, which unfortunately I dropped, and so they all broke up into little pieces, which is a bit of a shame. Debbie's been doing some picklings, pickled peppers, and courgettes, all sorts of different shapes and sizes of courgettes. And this is a tromboncino, which is kind of like a courgette. It's just like that is a seedless stem, which is really great. And that's the bit with the seeds in. And the first test pick of sweet corn, which actually looks pretty good, and some leeks. So well over 40 different types of things on that table this week, which is exactly kind of where we like to be. We like to fill this table every week of the year, as I always say, and have 30 different things. So in summer it's really easy to get more than 30. So I hope you like this quick video. My name's Steve, this is the Seaside Kitchen Garden and Allotment channel, and I'll see you soon.